Beautiful. All right, friends. So my name is Wes Litton. I'm with Bears Networks, also with our own brokerage here. I love this place. You give me for the economic model. As you guys know, we kind of went out of order today. So typically we hit economic model before the budget model. I believe we even hit it before the generation model. So just because scheduling, we're all mixed and matched and all that. So in a nutshell, the economic model is this idea that we're going to figure out how much money we want to make or what life we want to live. That's going to translate into a dollar amount. That dollar amount, we're going to work backwards into figuring out, you can take it all the way into how many contacts we need to make. But I think today we're just going to take it into how many appointments we need. So qualified, seller, and buyer appointments. Sound good? Yeah, really boring, right? That's why I get to teach it. Because, damn it, Claire, your shit up. Okay, you guys know if you've taken any classes, we have two rules. Number one, you can be on your cell phones. And I would just expect that if you're on a cell phone, it's because you're closing deals, right? So in my world, everything stops for a contract. Even in my wife's world, everything stops for a contract, right? The purpose of learning is to sell houses. We don't substitute learning for selling houses, right? And in KW, you can do that, by the way. You can train yourself into bankruptcy. Seen that. All right. So number one, everything stops for a contract. I see you on your phone. I'm assuming it's business. I'm not going to call you out, but I might. A little bit wild today. Number two, this is just a general principle I live by. I like to share every single class. When productivity is low in your life. So when we're not doing the activities of a real estate agent, we tend to have really high drama in our life. Right? And then flip that, right? When you look around and you see that productivity is great, you happen to notice that a lot of the drama that you deal with in your life is a lot less. It's not perfect, but it's kind of this weird rule in our industry where we want to substitute what we should do with like all the fun relational messes we can make as humans, right? We are all a very similar personality type. Like we're all different, don't get me wrong, but those who sell real estate all tend to kind of be like, did you hear that this person did this and this and that, and this is just trouble, right? But whenever we hear that and see that in our lives, it's because productivity is low. The economic model, as dumb as this sounds, is actually your guide to productivity. So why don't we just go ahead and start? Who in here has a monetary goal for next year in mind? You guys talked about this yet? Maybe in the budget model? Okay, 3 of you, sweet, that's awesome. How many of you have like lifestyle goals? Like I want to take a trip to like Spain or, yep. Does anyone care to share a lifestyle goal? What do you got?
My husband and I are taking a cruise through the Grecian Islands next October.
Heck yeah, that's awesome.
So I gotta make all the money.
Yeah, because no one likes to go on vacation.
Bro.
No, we just did an all-inclusive, which, I mean, this might be the best things ever.
Right.
I literally just wake up, walk outside my door, and there's like people handing me food and drinks. It's incredible. It's the coolest thing. So highly recommend. But the cruise of Greece. Okay, I want to hear how that goes though. Okay, so you just committed to it. You're going to do it.
I've already put a
Okay,
deposit
no,
down.
I'm just kidding.
No,
You already put it-
I put a deposit
I
on
love it. What else do you guys have going on this next year? Hope to do
a Disney trip for 8.
for 8. Oh man, you're gonna have to sell a couple kidneys.
I know.
A couple, maybe just
It'll
one.
probably cost more than my cruise.
For 8, that's a lot of fun, and it really sucks to go to the park and not be able to spend the money because everything at that park. I mean, we did Universal Day like last year. Right, so we did Harry Potter. My wife loves Harry Potter. I did Harry Potter. It was a blast. Like I went from this is weird to I'm 100% in. Like we bought wands and everything. like bangers and mash and something weird. Whatever. I don't even know what it's called.
Butterbeer.
Yeah. So it's like $43 for bangers and mash. I'm like, it's disgusting. It's English food. Shouldn't cost this.
They got a news showing down at Disney. There's a restaurant there, like a high-end where per person, one meal was $300, one was $479 per person.
See, that's what I'm saying. If you crush it, you can go to that restaurant. Maybe I'll date people. But
Yeah.
what else you guys got? You only got any other hopes for 2023? Be fun. It can be practical. I want to refinance my mortgage, not at 7%. I don't know how that's going to go, but we'll see. All right. So the idea behind choosing these lifestyle goals or these income goals is we're able to then distill it down into something that I call our life by design. Okay, that's a very KW Maps coaching term. I love it and I hate it at the same time. And let me tell you why. First of all, we can't fit our entire life by design in 1 year. It just doesn't work. And people tend to, when you say like, oh, what do you want to do in 2023? Everyone's like, I want to pay off my cars. I want to go on vacation. I want to buy rental properties. I want to do all this. And so we load ourselves up with this massive goal to sell tons and tons of houses. And then we fall short of that goal and we become disenchanted and frustrated with ourselves and we don't actually live a healthy lifestyle. I see that a lot, right? The second side of the reason I don't like life by design, because it's a little bit cliche, like you see it written on walls and everything everywhere. What it really means is, how do we use real estate and the activities that we know we need to do and our calendars to determine that we live a life that we actually would enjoy? So Jordan Freed talked about inner peace the other day at team meeting, like life by design being an internal thing, not just an external thing. Okay, so what I'm going to walk you guys through is not in your book. So if you have a note page, go ahead and grab it. We'll just start there. We're going to walk through this really quick, and this is just a very brief life by design. I'm not going to make you do it right now. I'm just going to give you the outline for it, okay? In the first section, number one, whoa, circle. You're going to list all of your living expenses. This is a really fun language. This one's like EXP and SCS, whatever. List all your living expenses. Okay, so that's that first step. So I did this on a spreadsheet. So I, typed in like food, housing, whatever. I have a PDF form I can send you to. My email is my name, by the way, leslitton@kw.com. So email me if you need a recap or want to meet or do anything on this. But the first thing you're going to do is list those living expenses. So that's all of it, right? Rent, food, insurance. What other things do we need but hate paying for? Phone, oh my God, cable, yeah, all the subscriptions. I'm like, yeah, okay, I digress. I could really go off on subscriptions right now. I'm pretty frustrated with it. I just found out that I've been paying for a cigar subscription and the cigars have been being sent to my old house.
Oh,
How do you like that one? That's fun. Yeah. It was only like $7 a month. It was like 2 cigars a month, but it was going to a different house.
How sad are they gonna be when they don't get this?
Oh, I know. I'm like, dang. So that first section, you got list of living expenses. I like to list them monthly because I can think of them that way easier. So I'm going to list them monthly. And then I'm also going to then multiply them by 12 for an annual number. Okay. So that's going to spit something out. Let's say, for easy conversation, monthly you're spending $5,000 total. So annually you're spending $60,000 annually. Is everyone following me? Okay, so that's like the baseline. That is the minimum number of dollars, or okay, you can distill it down to homes. That's the minimum number you need to make to sustain your lifestyle, right? So I call that like your need number. So that's your need goal, right? It's not like your actual production goal a lot of times. That's just like what you need. So if you want to stay licensed, this is your number, right? Otherwise, I would expect you would either do one of two things. You would reduce your living expenses, or you go get a job that can guarantee your $60,000, right? The fun part about real estate is it's not a guaranteed $60,000. You have to work your ass off to get the $60,000. That's just the world we live in. Other times you don't work your ass off and you magically make 120 and you go, how do I replicate that? And sometimes you can't, right? So we make our plan, our business plan, with a need goal basis. So there is no room at all, no excuse. You're on my team, I hold you accountable 100% to that number. Because why are you in this industry if you are not willing to put in the work needed to at least cover your living expenses? This doesn't make sense, right? I also think that a lot of us, when we set like a minimum standard, we tend toward that minimum standard, right? So if I say, well, I need to close at least, I don't know, I'm not going to break down this math. We're going to do it later anyway. Let's call that 20 homes. I'm making some up. If I need to close 20 homes and I know that's my need, and that's all I ever say is I need to at least 20 homes. Guess how many I'm going to close? 19. Exactly. 19. I'll never hit 20, right? It's totally how it is. The second side of that then becomes, okay, well, if I know I'm going to trend to the lower number, that means I have to build a second number. And I have to have meaning behind the second number. You guys tracking with me? Because if I don't have meaning behind the second number, like the number is totally arbitrary and I'll never be committed to it. But if I say I have number 2, this is going to be what I call lifestyle goals of Disneyland, right? Disney for 8 plus food plus mouse tax, which is all the millions of little things that you pay for at Disneyland, right? It's like, oh, you bought a refillable cup for $46. Did you know that that's a thing now?
Yeah.
$46. Yeah, it's amazing. So you have Disney plus food and mouse tax. And we're also going to Greece. And we want to pay off, let's say 10 grand of credit card debt. Or we want to, what else can we do? What other lifestyle things could you do? New wardrobe? How's that? What else? Shout it out.
Kids' college.
Ooh,
That's a big one.
Sea-Doos. Ooh, I like
Okay.
that. Shotgun?
New vehicle.
Oh my gosh, that would be on my
That
husband's.
sounds good, yeah.
Is enough.
Country club.
I mean, you could just keep going.
Oh, I can.
Yeah. Country club's a must. That's in your living expenses.
Okay. Glad you feel that way.
Don't get crazy on me. Okay, so if we were to total those up, and I know I wrote like all of them on there, so that's gonna be a big number. But let's say, just for the sake of our fun conversation, we'll pick some of the most important, not a new wardrobe. Let's say we're gonna put 10K for college, we're gonna put 10K for credit cards, and we're gonna estimate, how much would Disney for 8 be? I mean, that's a lot of money. What do you say?
It's about 15.
15, all right, we're gonna say 15 up there. And cross off these other ones. So that's gonna give me a total of 10, 20, 35,000, right? All right, so you see where I'm going here? So I have 60,000 as my need. I have an additional 35,000 as my want. So when we add them together, I have 95,000 as what I call my want goal, right? So 95,000 divided by what, 7,000 at closing. I don't know, you guys can figure out the math, and we'll do that in actual math in a bit. But you'll see how I'm getting to my income goal. That makes sense? Now keep in mind, we can't just gross 95,000. We have to pay taxes, right? How many of you guys had a fun tax bill this last year? Yeah, I found mine out yesterday. I went straight to Katrina's and had 2 shots of tequila. It was awesome. Yeah. You think I'm joking? I actually did that. It was amazing. Yeah. All right, so let's estimate our taxes at 30%. Easy number, right? So someone with a calculator.
127.
Times 1.3. What do we got there? 127? Yeah, I think you're right. You're probably right. You seem to always be right, Tim.
It's within $200.
$127,000. That's your actual goal. Because Uncle Sam takes his cut, no matter what. Unless you have a lot of real estate that you can write off and, all the expenses and all the fun stuff, like do that, work with your CPA. I'm not your CPA. So that's my real goal, what I want to put in my pocket at the end of the year. What I want to put in my pocket at the end of the year. This is what I must have in my pocket at the end of the year. And after adjusted for taxes, my true goal then becomes 127. Does everyone follow me? Any questions about this process?
Where would I put donations, like charitable?
Yeah, if that's part of what you believe is extremely important for you, I'm putting that in my living expenses. Living expenses is kind of like your personal budget. So I even put like my Roth 401k contributions in my living expenses, right? Like retirement, like the things that I'm like, I have to do this no matter what every month. It's just for me to live the life I want to live. Okay, now I'm going to say one thing, and then we're going to move to the actual economic model. Okay, sound good? And it's not going to be one, it never is with me. We have a market that is moving. Does everyone agree? You've heard that a million times and yada, yada. I'll be honest, when I started, the market was shifting. And then it just got better and better and better. And then COVID, then it got really good. And now we're just coming off our COVID, meth addiction. So when I look at this, I go, okay, if I know the market's moving on a downward trend, if I have to personally do more to sell the same number of homes, that means for me, I am probably going to do one of 2 things. The first is I'm going to really get detailed on this number. I'm going to say, truly, Wes, what is it taking you? And then in doing so, I'm probably looking at my personal budget And I'm shifting that to. Gary said on stage at that family reunion, Mega Camp, he said, across the board, Keller Williams, we have sold 30% less homes year over year. Holy crap. Think about that. Our entire industry, or our entire company, the number one real estate company in the world, has sold 30% less homes year over year. So hypothetically, that would state, or logic down to 30% less income, right? Potentially, I mean, it depends on your volume, whatever. Are we actually adjusting our budgets by 30%, right? Now, I'm not saying that you can't go make more and spend more by your personal activities. I'm just saying it would kind of reason to, in your business, you would make that same adjustment, and then you would focus on your activities to keep you going. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's my word of caution, is even though the market seems great, and this is a great market, I mean, this is basically 2019 again. I'll do 2019 every day of the week. I can actually market a listing. I can actually do open houses. I love it, right? So I'm pumped about this market. And I'm also looking at my personal expenses, and I'm remargining a bit. Saying, okay, I'm going to back down some of the real luxury things I was spending money on. Or I'm going to pay off debt, right? The fastest way to reduce your monthly budget is to take existing cash and just pay off debt. So that's what me and my wife did. We went debt free. Well, on our vehicles, right? Okay, section 3, the economic model. Anybody have any questions so far? All right, let's get into it. I told you guys we would do this stuff. Oh, let's see.
Hearing say about that 30% year over year decrease, what was causing or what, like, can you expand on that a little bit?
So he's just tracking macro trends,
Yeah.
right, in our offices, and he's just saying, as a company, we are 30% down. And he was attributing it to rising rates, also attributing it to some economic uncertainty, which, I mean, I can't argue with right now, right? The interest rates, I think we all feel. I mean, we looked at our buyer pipeline, we probably erased 50% of our active A buyers. When rates hit about 6.5 was when we were noticing people weren't calling for showings. When we'd be sending them or trying to get them to houses, they were like, eh. So we probably erased half of our A buyer pipeline, like in a matter of a month. That's hard. So now we're going back to them saying, okay, what payment are you comfortable with? Let's figure out a way to negotiate with sellers on rate buy downs or closing costs or whatever we can do to try to get you into that home. So we're going like creative with those people now to get the same home that they were looking at easily affording 2 months ago. It's a lot of fun. So I would say largely he's attributing it to macroeconomic factors. He's not attributing it to anything particular inside of the habits of a real estate agent. It's all largely interest rates and inflation. Which again, I'm looking at it, I'm like, awesome. You're telling me I get to list a house, I actually door knock and hold an open house and advertise on Facebook. Like, I'm gonna get leads, right? I'm gonna have real humans to call. It's gonna be awesome. I'm tired of talking to real estate agents as soon as I list a house. Like back in the day, I could list it and I would get like potential customers calling me. But the last 3 years, it's just all real estate agents. It's not that I don't like you guys. I'm just saying. Not gonna fight. Okay. So this is the big, ugly economic model. Okay, I clicked it, didn't I? There we go. So the economic model is going to take what we just did, right? Our goal for our net income of 127. This is going to go to 100 just for easy math. You've got it in front of you, and it is going to break it all the way down. Okay, I'll give you a couple nuances. I will admit to you guys that this is 90% of my focus in goal planning. On the rest of it, it's all kind of falls in line. Like the budget model is pretty straightforward. Like if I know I have this much GCI, that means all these numbers plug and play, and these are my maximums and minimums for what I can spend. Like, in my opinion, the budget model actually flows out of the economic model. The lead generation model also flows out of the economic model because it's going to tell us how many appointments we need, right? The one thing that Claire didn't talk about, and she said, you can always talk to me about tracking if you'd like to. Tracking is everything for building out economic models. So knowing your numbers becomes the biggest tool for you year over year as you go in and you adjust these things. Because I can tell you right now, Tim Hawley is going to convert more listings than I am, right? If I'm calling Tim's SOI, they're not working with me, they're working with Tim. Tim's calling mine, they're probably working with Tim too,
right? He's got more experience, he's better on the phone. You know, it's just the way it's going to be. Certain people have better conversions than other people. If you put me up against Claire and we're calling internet leads, I'm a dead man, right? I'm just like cracking jokes, trying to be funny, trying to connect with them. And she's over there actually giving them value, right? So I need to train on that side. So your numbers, you're tracking how many calls to conversations, how many conversations to appointments, how many appointments to signings, how many signed clients to active listing or under contracting. Those are the numbers we track, whether that be in a giant spreadsheet or in Command. Command actually helps you track these things. So either one you'd like. If you get real crazy with it, you can use Sisu. Use Sisu. Sisu is going to be integrating into Command soon. If you don't have a team, don't use Sisu. If you have a team, it's a very helpful tool. All right. Looking at this, so obviously in front of you guys, you have this thing filled out. So I'm just going to click. Is that fair? Come on, there's a lot of clicking. Okay. So this assumes a model that we call the 30-30-40. You guys can see it in there, very top, 40% net income. That's our goal in running a business, right? We want to be 40% profitable. Why 40% profitable? Does anyone have any idea? Any guesses? Yeah, I have no clue either. I have absolutely no clue why, but that's our industry's target. Okay. I've noticed that 30% in operating expenses is actually a pretty standard business metric. So I own another business and we are like 27.8% expenses per dollar of income. Like to the T. Every year we're right at 30. So I'm like, that's a pretty true number right there. Cost of sale is the commissions that we're paying out to our buyer's agent. And so our showing agents or our ISA bonuses. Cost of sale is literally like, for instance, on my team, if Cody Costello takes a buyer and sells that buyer, Cody gets a split. So Cody's split would be included in that cost of sale metric. So we target a 30% cost of sale. And the reason we target 30% and not 50%, like if you're a buyer's agent, potentially you're on a 50% split. The reason we target the 30 is because the assumption is as the team leader, or as the individual who's actually running the team, you're actually in production. So you're not getting paid a split out of it. Yours is just going straight to bottom line net income. Does that make sense? Okay. So you can play with this however you want. If you want to pay yourself a commission, you can. I don't really know why you would in a smaller team. In a larger team with mixed ownership like ours, then it would make sense to, right? You get compensated for your work. But if you're the rainmaker or the single owner of your team, you might as well just take all of it as net profit, write it off. Yeah. There's also a deduction called QBI, qualified business income. If you're self-employed, which I think we all are, please talk to your CPA about that and figure out how you can get it. It means 20% of all your net income is not taxable. Look at that. QBI, it's the best thing ever. So make sure that your LLC or your entity or your personal corporation qualifies for QBI. It's like the best gift of the Trump era, basically. That's it right there. QBI
Kept you to 2 shots instead of 3.
QBI? Yeah, that kept me at 2. Yeah. Then I had another Trump era deduction, the cost segregation. I had a cost segregation in QBI, and I was able to just keep it at 2 drinks, made it home safely, kind of. I mean, I can talk all night about this, but okay. So let's run through our example here real quick. Then I'm gonna ask you guys what you think the benefit of knowing these are. It's pretty stupid. Oh, you have it right there in front of you. Never mind. I'm not gonna do that. We're just gonna skip that. Number 1, right there, benefits of the economic model. As you can see, this clearly provides the number of appointments and units sold you need to meet your goal. Okay, goal is your need and your want goal. Tax adjusted, right? That's what your top line should be. So you guys can easily build this out for yourself. Like this should be very straightforward. This is going to be informing your path. Your conversion rates. Conversion rates are important. So over here, we've got 70%, 75%, 70%, 70%. This is yours. I don't know what your conversion rate is. I know what mine and my team's is. I don't know what yours is. I would assume if you're a single or an individual agent, you're working largely with your sphere of influence, that your conversions are going to be pretty high, right? From the appointments that you meet as a sphere. I mean, if your sphere is anything like mine, they're like, hey Wes, we're kind of thinking of selling our home, could you come over and price it? Well, if I'm getting that call or we're connecting that way on the phone, I'm getting the listing. Like there's not, you know what I mean? It's like 99% there. If it's a referral and they're not sure if they're moving into town, well, probably not going to be counting that right away in my conversions, right? So I might meet them, but I might not actually get them converted if they ever move in, right? So your different lead types in your personal business will inform these things. That's again where we go to tracking being really important. The MREA has some standards in there, like some basics. They're old school basics though, which I love, right? Because that book was written as a compilation over 3 decades of data. So I really like the MREAs. These numbers are newer. So these are more current numbers. But again, like I just mentioned, we're coming off of this, 3-year meth bender of a real estate market. So it's not going as quickly anymore. So it used to be, I could be a totally cold lead. I could walk into a listing appointment. I comp it to 280. They want it at 300, sign here, press hard. We put it on the market in 3 days and it's sold, right? That's not today's market. Now I'm going to fight for 280. I might not get that listing because I'm fighting for 280, even though I inform them. They want me to cut my commission. I say, in this market, you're a joke. So I'm going to spend $1,000 in marketing this thing. You know what I mean? Like we're in a different market now. So I'm not going to anticipate my crackhead conversions. I'm going to be looking more towards some previous decades. So I really like the MREA's numbers. I believe, don't quote me off this, I believe it's something like 65% and 80%. So, and they flip list and buy, I believe. Again, refer to the book, but on the sell side, it's 65% of the appointments you meet, you'll sign, and then out of the signs, 80% you sell, I believe. Or no, that's the buy side. Buy side is 65% of the buyers you meet, you'll be able to take as a client. And then out of those taken, you'll sell 80%. And they're assuming a lot will get pre-qualified, which that is today, by the way. Our team's appointment to signed ratio is down because we're not able to get people pre-qualified. Like, oh, well, I don't want to buy a $150,000 house. I thought I'd be able to buy 225. Like, yeah, you could have January 1. I'm sorry, right? So, but on the list side, it's the opposite. 80% of the listings you meet, you should be able to sign, and then 65% of them will actually sell. So those are the numbers that I'm running off of right now when I'm goal hunting for our team. The reason is, number one, 85% of the listings that you meet should be able to sell. Well, the assumption is an appointment met has 4 items on it, right? It's a face-to-face conversation. I'm able to do a needs analysis. I'm able to figure out what they need done. I'm able to prescribe an action plan or say, hey, here's what you need. Here's what we can do, right? That fits your need. And then number 4, I can actually ask a closing question. If I can get through those 4 in an appointment, I'm 80% of the time on it, right? Objections are all the same with sellers. I don't want to pay that commission. Well, you're probably going to pay it anywhere. If your funding agent is going to cut their commission, what are they going to do to your equity? There's $1 million. Will you cut your commission? No. And wait, it's the best objection handler ever. No. Every seller has no idea what to do. They just go, oh, okay. And then you move on. It's the best thing ever. Rhett Smiley taught me that one. All right. So I know on the list side, 80%. The other side of this is right now, this is the MREA in net $1 million. There's an awesome, awesome line inside of that section. And it says the number 1 concern of a rainmaker, which if you're an individual, you're a rainmaker, right? If you have a team, you're a rainmaker, small team, whatever. If you're the head honcho of your whatever, even if you're not, even if you're the lead buyer's agent, the number 1 concern for your team is that you hit your minimum listing goal every single month. Why is that? Does anyone know? Amy's yawning. Amy, why is that?
Because that's the only way you're going to make any money. But also listings lead to buyers, leads to more business.
Bingo. Yeah, you want to hit your buy side numbers? Go hit your listing numbers. Then you can do those open houses. You can do that door knocking. Your actual advertising should bring in clients, right? Absolutely true. So the number 1 concern in a moving market, or a market where things are harder, is that you're going to hit your minimum listing goal. That's right here, total seller listings needed. Okay. So again, we build all this around profit. So I'm going to back up again. So we list because we're concerned about hitting this number or the number on top there. Can you guys tell me why we're so concerned about profit? Like, I mean, it seems kind of a silly question. We kind of walk through life by design. But like, why are we so concerned about protecting that profit and not allowing expenses and other stuff to get in the way?
We get to keep doing what we're doing.
Right? Like, as silly as it is, we just talked about like, how many of you guys got your real estate license so you'd be out of the business in the first 5 years? That's the average. The average license only lasts 5 years. The whole point of this is to ensure that we're not part of that stat, right? Thank God I made it through, because I don't know what I would do with myself now that I've been this spoiled in real estate. Like, I gotta take my kids to school in the morning. That's like the coolest thing ever. They don't go to school till like 9:30. It's awesome. All right. The last piece about the protecting net profit that I love is net profit becomes the tool that you get to use to either live your life that you want or grow the business that you want. So over here in your lifestyle goals, if you had hire an assistant in there, you would actually be using your net profit piece potentially to hire an assistant, right? You would set up a little draw to like start saving money to the side so that when the time came, you have a little bit of reserve and you could try it out on hiring an assistant. By the way, love hiring an assistant. It's the best decision I ever made. It was not the first hire I made. I messed that up plenty of times, but when I finally got the right assistant, it was great. So highly encourage you guys to do so. All right, the last piece on this that I think is super important is if you don't have a cost of sale right now, so you're not splitting your commissions with anyone, you're wrong. You're splitting them with your market center. So that's your cap, right? Your cap's going to be included in that. What do we get in return for our caps? This is kind of a dumb question, but I'm going to ask it. What do you guys get in return for your cap? What do I get in return for caps?
Training.
Training. What else? There's a mission. Yeah, office stuff. You know? Oh, yeah. By the way, we just had to up our policy. We were only insured last year for transactions up to $1 million. We probably did like 50 transactions over $1 million. That's scary. So that's way up there now. But I was like,
Here's how they don't put E&O on every single transaction. Like in San Antonio, every transaction is $75 E&O insurance, even after your cap. You know,
my mom's was 300 when she was an agent. Wow,
A
right?
month or a transaction?
Per transaction. She only did 4, so it didn't really matter, but I pick on her. She's the most incredible human being. And out of her 4, I will say her average sales price was 3.6 million.
you know, something I think we give for it that people don't like talk about is like the help and the camaraderie of this office. Because I mean, it's a great office, amazing people. Like, you know, you come in, people that don't engage, like I've got a listing, the guy who's an agent here who's awesome guy. I'm like, you ever come to the office? No, never. He's like, I'm not a big, you know, office guy in this, but I'm like, you know, and then people like in San Antonio, we had 1,300 people at the Heritage office. And people are like, I feel like a small fish in a big pond, but I'm like, that's a personal problem because you don't want to go out and meet new people, make new friends. You're going to find people that, you know, are all like-minded. We're all real estate agents. If you need help, if I came to you for something, you would be there. You know, I mean, that's what we do. And I think it's a huge benefit we get when you're in a great office that, you know,
Wow.
you know.
You know, this is one of the top 8, like we're number 8 in our entire company for the number of closed transactions, this office. Like, think about that. Springfield, Missouri is number 8 in the world. We're in like 46 different countries and 47 different countries now. We've got like 800 offices across the nation, just in America, 800 offices. And we're number 8 in closed transactions. Like, think about that. Like, that's nuts. You got that. Then you actually have like nice people here. What the heck, right? I had a recruiting conversation today. I call it a recruiting conversation. I had no idea the guy was an agent, okay? So mutual friends, he's like, hey, you got to come meet this guy. He played in the NFL. Like, great dude. It's not Grant Lindstrom. We already know Grant. Okay, so I'm like, okay, whatever. So I go meet him. And he's talking to me about the brokerage he's at here locally. And he's like, he goes, well, how much does Keller Williams cost? And I told him, he's like, oh, well, that's more expensive than where I'm at. And I'm like, well, that makes sense, but you've only done 5 deals this year. He's like, just like kind of let it sit. And like, he's a dude, right? He played in the NFL. So he took it and he kind of laughed. He's like, yeah, you're right. He's like, are you saying if I went to Keller Williams, I would do more deals? You know what I got to do? Broker metrics, right? So of course on my phone, Rachel had just emailed out the broker metrics. So I pulled up broker metrics and I showed him the average number or the number of agents we have, and I divided that by our transaction count. And I took his brokerage number of agents divided by the transaction count. We were triple. I said, okay, on average, I'm like, we have 2 big teams, right? But on average, across it, you're gonna make way more money here versus the extra $8,000, no, $7,000 in cap. Right, it's really interesting. So his mind was blown. He's like, oh, I gotta get there, man, I gotta get there. I'm like, yes, you do, okay. All right, so when we boil this down, you guys understand math, and if you need help with the math, probably not your guy, but you guys should be able to do this one. When we get down to 357 total buyer appointments needed, that's like, that's so scary. It's 30 a month, that's 7 a week. Okay, keep in mind, that number radically changes based on the conversion rates you plug in. So you'll play with this a little bit and say, okay, I know last year I represented, I'm picking numbers, I represented 20 buyers, I closed 20 buyers. Great year, right? But let's say that out of the 20, you went back to the sources of where you got them and they were like all SOI. Well, your conversion rate's not going to be 70. So you don't need 7 SOI buyer appointments a week, right? You might need like 1. No, yeah, 1 would be 52. You need like 1, basically, 1.5, right? So you can play with these numbers. Same with over here. I will say on the sell side, it is actually more important in my opinion. Like when I'm lead generating, I'm not lead generating to go find someone who needs to buy a house. I'm lead generating to find someone who owns a house who needs to buy a house, right? So one of the best ways to do this at an open house, which I love open houses. I built like half my business on opens for a weekend. It's the best thing ever. I always made sure that the house I was doing during the Chiefs game, I had the TV on, I had permission from the sellers. Big tip. Also, if you have a really cool seller, bring a cooler with beer in it. You get a lot more clients that way, and they stick around. Okay, and you can't advertise that, by the way. That would do something. All right. So the open house trick, though, and this is just for you to put in your back pocket, is when the visitor comes in, it's, hey, how's it going? Do you live in the neighborhood or are you out home shopping? Like, you only give them 2 options. They have to pick one, and if it's neither, they're going to tell you what the actual answer is. If they're out home shopping, that means they're an active buyer. Great. How long have you been home shopping? Is this something like what you guys are looking for? Awesome. Do you have a house now? Right. So you're just immediately getting into, do you own a home? Do you live in the neighborhood? Are you just a looky-loo? Right. Oh, you live in the neighborhood? That's awesome. And in my mind, I'm going back to my open house sheet. And I had a little code. 2 marks, they lived in the neighborhood. 1 mark, active buyer. 3 marks, active buyer with a home to sell. And I would just, on the open house sheet, I would just tally them right there on the sheet. What's so cool about it then is when I'm making my follow-up calls, I can then go in and tag them in the database as they have an intent to sell or they're a seller lead, right? I want seller leads. Now buyer leads, those were the ones that I would package. And at the time it was Josh Keats, one of our partners. I would send them to Josh and say, hey, call these people. And I would focus on these ones over here. And like Claire was saying, I wasn't spending money on leads, I was doing opens. So with those people, I had to get really strategic, right? Hey, you saw this house over in Southern Hills. It was an amazing house. I've got 2 that are coming on the market, not me personally, but Keller Williams. We have 2 that are coming on the market because I would call Dan, I would call Adam, I would call Rhett. What do you have coming up? What do you have coming up? I have 2 coming up on the market, potentially in Brentwood and 1 other in Southern Hills. I'm trying to get you the addresses and I'm trying to get you an early showing. Would you be willing to meet me if I could get you in the house? Right? You're just doing stupid stuff. Like you're just like guerrilla warfare. It's all free though, right? Okay. I digress. Lead generator sellers. Okay, here we go. Page 2. We're 30 minutes into this. Whew. Page 2. Performance, investment, and outcomes. One thing that we really get wrong as large teams is we tend to look at them too much through the lens of they do it, right? So there's the I do it, there's the we do it, and then there's the they do it. Right? And it's this big progression that everyone inside of every organization is like, this is the entrepreneurial way. You're going to build it so big that other people are going to do it. The problem is when other people do it, they likely don't do it to your standard. They do it as a reflection of your standard, right? So let me give you a great example. Listed a few homes this week. Sam Davis is not a listing coordinator on our team, but she's been with me since forever, right? So I'm like, Sam, listings, go. I know Sam is like incredibly detailed. So she goes through, listings are always perfect. Well, these ones were passed off to someone else. And the listing came back, we had wrong square footage. The bedroom count was off by 1, which Sam would have known about, but I'm like, I go, Sam, what's going on, Sam? And she's like, well, I handed it off to one of our listing coordinators. I'm sorry that we didn't get this all found out, like, whatever. And I'm like, I'm not mad, but it was really interesting that the performance did not mirror and match specifically my personal standard. In fact, it didn't even match Sam's. I'm like, well, how is that? Well, the further you get down the line, the more they do it, likely the training hasn't been as good all the way through, right? Because if I train Tim and then Tim trains Amy, Amy's going to be acting, speaking differently than I would have, right? Even though Tim might be a reflection of me, Amy's now just a reflection of Tim, who has a reflection of me. That makes sense. It's kind of weird.
Colors get blurred.
It's getting weird, right?
It's like a
So when we-
telephone game.
Exactly. So when we look at the way this all boils down, is what I'm really trying to get at, is there is a lot, we need to focus a lot less on investment, which is the they do it, the time, the money, like the they do it stuff. We need to focus a lot less there, and we need to focus a lot more on performance, right? And the reason is the last 3 years have taught us the opposite. Performance could lack, and we would still close a high level of deals. And it ain't happening anymore. Investment now can lack. We have to cut back on the budget. We have to reallocate our time, but our performance, our behaviors, our skill levels, well, everything has to get real nice, right? If we're going to keep the same level of sales. So performance plus investment becomes your outcomes, right? So this is pretty straightforward. We know that if we're an individual agent, we're almost entirely looking at the performance side. On the investment side, really the only thing we have is time. And then we have some operating expenses, not a lot, we have some, right? As you grow your team, you should be moving some of the performance onto other people in the form of a cost of sale. Hey, you handle the customer, or you handle the showing, really, or you handle some of the lead gen, and I'll pay you a split, right? That's the cost of sale. The operating expenses then become salary and office and all the overhead and all the fixed expenses you could ever have, which they add up very quickly, by the way. And you can become very non-profitable even as a big team. There are plenty that are. So when we look at this, we know that it's number 1 plus number 2 equals number 3. I would say right now, number 2 is the most important. That performance is well, in our book, it's backwards, isn't it? You guys have that? Oh, see, someone's not living up to Gary's standard. Number 1, performance is the most important thing, period. So everything else I'm going to talk to you about here today is a derivative of performance, right? It's really not about the numbers. Like I can go on like 30 really unqualified listing appointments. And even if I have phenomenal training, I might not convert them, right? So that means up front on my lead generation, right? My skill level has to significantly increase because over the last year, it could be really poor. I just needed to get in the door, right? There's an old stat, I don't know if it's still true, I'll share it with you guys anyway, that 70% of all home sellers choose the first person they meet with. So I teach this one nationally now, specifically lead generation with people you know. 70% of home sellers choose the first person they meet with. That's it. So the question becomes, is it more important to master what you say at that kitchen table with that seller? Or is it more important to master the art of getting to the kitchen table? I would say it's mastering the art of getting to the kitchen table. Because I know I already have a 70% chance just by being the one there, right? I have the fancy documents. I wear a collared shirt. I wash my car before I came, right? They'll likely sign with you. It's crazy. Anyway, all right. We're gonna.
Can I add one more to that? I listened to a book last month. It was Ninja Selling
Great
and
program too.
yeah, and they talked about they pick an agent that they're most in flow with. That was their terminology. So it's the one that comes to mind more often. So if you are contacting them, even if they're not talking to you, that they see your name ever often, they'll just forget the last person they even worked with if they keep seeing your name.
That's why in our ISA department, I mean, like I said, they're flying with leads that are 2 years old. They've nurtured this relationship for 2 years. And you're like, man, like as an individual agent, there was no way I could have done that. I was lucky if I could nurture it for like 35 days. I was like, 1 month, we're out, moving on to the next, right? Like I'm focused on today's business all the time. Those nurture programs become everything. Like quarterly phone calls, pop buys, client events, anything that you can do, even if like, this sounds crazy, call me crazy. Go ahead. Outsource it. Like, if you can't send the text message because you're too busy or you keep forgetting, have a VA log into your iCloud and send the text message. Like, it's very inexpensive. Like, there's a lot of leverageable things that can look like less. Here's the script to send. Just log in for me and send it all, right? Go, literally, I could send them. By the way, all our playbooks as Veris, we publish in a PDF. We'll give them to you. You can rip off any of our events. You know, all you have to do is just change what it is. Just can't take like literally like, oh, we're doing Barks and Brews Tim style. You can do like cats and cigars, I don't know, whatever, right? Which that would actually be a badass
That would
event.
be a really
That'd be
good.
awesome.
All right, that one's mine.
All right, yeah, write that one down. Oh, man, you can do that in your too. Oh, that'd be really fun. Okay. Okay, but yes, yeah, the whole purpose around it isn't necessarily what you say, it's that you said something. And then when it comes to actually securing the listing, it's not necessarily how great your listing presentation is, or frankly, even your reputation or your past data. That's what's crazy. They care about, like what you said, they're in sync. They care that you care about them. And if you can just express that and connect with them, you're gonna get the listing. I listed 36 homes my first year. I went 6 months, nothing. And then the last 6 months I listed 36. And it was like, I had no experience. Like, I would literally tell people like, I'm new, I was 22. Like, they could see it. I still kind of have peach fuzz, you know? And I'd sit there and be like, I'm gonna be honest with you. You're gonna be my second listing ever. But I promise that I will work my butt off for you. And also I have a really great broker that's gonna help me along the way. Oh, and also on the designated agency side of your employment contracts, just remind them that this is actually Jim Boland's listing, who's been a broker for 900 years and he's a total dinosaur. And yet you're the designated agent to represent them on behalf of Jim. So I always tell them, if I go down in a fiery plane crash, Jim's gonna take over anyway. Or I say, if you really wanna get rid of me and you do, Jim's gonna actually close your deal if I can, right? So, okay, let's go to the elements of the economic model. 30, 30, 40. This is pretty basic. You guys understand. These are goals, right? So when we talk about like income goals, these are just basically expense guidelines. I would encourage you guys, if you're an individual agent, this should be like 10, 10, 80. Like, you can get some help, some part-time help showing some houses if you need it, or whatever, use a third-party ISA service to call some leads, or I don't know, whatever the heck it is. But I mean, you could really cut this down really low to make 127,000. I mean, if I listed 36 with no lead spend, I was entirely open houses, entirely door knocking. Like, those things didn't cost me anything. In fact, I was putting Adam Grady's listings open, right? They were Carrie Works. It was back before they were partners. Oh, Carrie was the best. Now she's too busy for me, but dang, she was so helpful. But it's the same thing. Come into our office. What do you guys have that I can hold open? Because I can guarantee you, if you're posting on the internal page, anyone have anything? No one on my team is going to respond. It's just not going to happen. They're too busy figuring out what they're doing that moment of the day, right? So, but like if you're like Kim Mooningham, who just walks on in, hey guys, does anyone have a listing here or near this? All of a sudden, we're doing transactions with Kim Mooningham all the time. And I'm like, how? It's like, oh, she literally walks in and asks us. Same thing, send me a text, do you have any open houses? I personally don't, but here's who you need to talk to on our team, right? So get a little aggressive with it. It's particularly because, again, if you're very high in productivity, your drama is going to be low. But again, if you're high in productivity, the reason drama is low is you have no time for it, right? So Facebook goes away, or tends to, unless you're scheduling time to go look. So if you're needing opens, go direct to the people who hold the listings. Look at the MLS, go direct to that person and ask them. Even if it's a text, I mean, that can work too, or just literally walk in their office. All right, cash flow, the economic model. Pretty straightforward. We know that we're going to split transaction between buy side and list side. My uncle years ago, so my uncle as well from Oregon is a real estate agent. He's been an agent forever up there. One of the things he always talks about is he knows he's getting, he actually tells the market based on what side of the business he tends to work more. So it's like, if I find myself working a lot of buyers, that tells me that I probably have some pretty good interest rates, that things are pretty strong economically in the country. He's like, when that shifts and I'm working more sellers than buyers, he's like, it usually tells me that something's going on the buy side or in the larger macroeconomic picture. So he kind of plays with this. So his goal is always 50-50. It doesn't have to be. If you're focused heavily on sellers, it can be 60-40. It doesn't really matter. If you're someone who's like, all I want is listing all my buyers, then you're 100% sellers, whatever you want to do. I always like the 50-50 model. I think it's pretty healthy. I think it's balanced. I think a lot of times if you are accurately advertising your listings, you're going to be getting buyers anyway. For me, I was never that great with buyers, still aren't. So I use leverage on the buy side as much as I can, right? So I'm going to be splitting this. And I know every time I use leverage, my conversion goes down a little bit, right? We already talked about that. They mirror me, they aren't me. So I'm going to split it about 50-50, knowing I'll have more buyer appointments and I'm going to kick those to our leverageable people where they're going to take them and run, right? So 50-50 might be where I'm at. So if I'm shooting for 2.5 million to be $1 million or net income, I'll split it. Listing cost of sale 125 versus buyer cost of sale 625. What do you guys think of that? Anyone know why that might be? You're shaking your head, yeah. What do you got?
Well, you gotta split it with the buyer's agent and you have a salaried employee on the listing side.
Pretty straightforward. Yep.
Hmm.
You have splits, and then if you're a listing agent, you usually have a salary plus a bonus. Right? Pretty darn straightforward. And the reason is that listing agent can carry a lot more. Our team personally, we actually run a listing agent split, no salary. And it's just lower. I think it's like 25%, 30%. I think it's 30%. So if you're a listing agent on our team, you're taking less, but you're like literally getting listing appointments set for you. You have to still generate your own business. Don't get me wrong, but you're having listing appointments set for you. So then on the buy side, yeah, typically, I mean, I think original model shows like almost 50%. So when you have 50% over here as your split, right? And over here, you have a 10% basically salary. You can see how we would get to our 30%. So anyway, all that to say, there's 750s or 30% cost of sale, 750 operating expenses, and then $1 million net income. Don't get caught up on the millionaire thing. It is damn near impossible to get $1 million net income. Like there's a lot of teams that say they do it. There's a very few that actually do it. Okay. So don't get too caught up in it. It's not like it can't be achieved. It is just freaking hard. And you have to just nail your processes and your employees and your management of those employees. Like it is freaking hard. Okay. I digress. It's also easier in markets where you don't sell like trailers for $55,000. All right, so let's go to conversion rate. So now we kind of know our process of like, okay, here's the basic expenses that we should expect. We're going to go to, we've already talked about this. See, does everyone get this? Can we just move on here? Conversion rate's great. We're moving on. Okay, do the math yourselves. I'm not walking you guys through this. You guys know how to do this for yourselves, right? Okay. Well, I suck through all of them. Kidding me.
Well, one good thing is like he said, for instead of doing $1 million, just do like 100,000.
Yeah, do your number.
Just think for zero.
Yeah. Yeah, there's one for 500,000. There you go.
Your plan, there you go. Action, ahas. Oh, wow, that pretty quickly. All right. I still have a lot of time left. I have more pages over here though. Okay, let's talk about some fun stuff that I find personally in our team that we get caught in when it comes to our economic models, okay? First of all, not actually checking back with it, okay? So right now you're gonna do your own, well, probably tonight. I would say right now, I'm not gonna make you do it right now because it's easy math. It'll be done in like 5 seconds. I'll be like, okay, anyone want to share it? And it's awkward. You're gonna do this math, right? You're gonna get done, you're gonna be like, great, I have to list 25 homes and I need to help 25 buyers close. Beautiful, it's gonna be so much fun, I can attain that. And we got this yearly goal, we break it down monthly and it's like, that's only 2 a month, or it's 20 a month. I don't care what your number is, right? The problem is we don't hit a monthly goal 1 month. So then let's say in January we hit it, February we don't, it's a short month, family reunion, my daughter's birthday, my anniversary. And of course, I always like to travel in February too, because why not do it all at once? And so I look at February and it's basically a trash month for me. Not like for my life, it's fun, but in business, it's terrible. So now I've hit it in January. I haven't hit it in February. We are in March. I am actually now behind on my economic goal, right? But what we don't do is we don't pull this back out and rerun it and say, okay, instead of dividing or multiplying by 12, I now have to multiply the number by 9. or 10, right? Whatever month it is. No, very rarely do people go back and say, oh, that means now if I follow the formula all the way down, I need 3 listing appointments a month, not 2. Or I need 30 listing appointments a month, not 20, right? So the one trick with the economic model is like your budget, it has to be revisited frequently as compared to your goals. The same side of that is we have to revisit our conversion rates frequently, okay? So if I ran our goals off of last year's conversion rates, I think I'm going to be sorely mistaken this year, right? It's way harder to close buyer. It's way harder to sell a listing right now than it was 9 months ago. So you have to kind of flow, like you kind of have to update it, be very conscientious about where the market's going. So that's why team meetings are so important. 1,300 listings on the market right now. Like we haven't seen that literally in almost, was it 3 years? 3 years. Almost 3 years. That's interesting. That tells me my conversion rates are going down, like the whole markets are. So I'm going to factor that in. The second piece of that is very few of us actually look at the economic model and make decisions based on it. In other words, we get busy, we feel overwhelmed. I love the word feel. I love it so much, I absolutely hate it. So if you're ever in a meeting with me, you say, oh, I feel this, I'm like, I'm out. Like, this is a numbers game. Work sucks no matter what work you do. It's just the way it is, right? Unless you're like, maybe like, okay. There's so many cool things you can do for work, I guess. So I said that and I was like, I could be a caddy. We don't use it as a guide for decision making. So we feel something and our response is then, well, maybe I should just hire an ISA. Or maybe I should get a showing agent, or maybe I should, right? And we're like, maybe I shouldn't all of these things based on a feeling we're having probably in spring, right? Like when things start heating up and we start panicking, like, oh, I'm gonna die, I need leverage. And then of course you're going to like the leverage series and they're teaching you all about it. You're like, yeah, this is gonna answer everything. And we don't consult the actual economic model. We don't come back and say, wait a second, the market is cyclical. Right? I know in spring and summer I'm going to do more, and I know in winter and fall I'm going to do less. So really all that's happening is I'm tracking according to my goals, because if the market does, let's say January, spring, summer, there's our awesome August, September, another little bump and down again, right? If this is the market, that means our goals need to be this, right? We teach ourselves to say, expect 2 a month, like flat line. It's like, but what happens when you have 12 by accident in spring, which this happens? Brian's laughing because you're like, I've been there, dude. Like magically, you're like 2 a month, 2 a month, 2 a month. I'm planning my life around 2 a month. They're like, no, this is 13. That's 8. That's 9. And that's nothing, right? Like that's actually how it works. So feelings, emotions fill these gaps. This is what I always tell our agents. Emotions fill the gaps. So if you identify that you're in the gap, assess the emotion, and then go back to the economic model. Say, okay, am I business planning appropriately? Am I actually trending toward my end goal, knowing that I'm going to have the awesome back to school dip, and I'm going to have typically a lesser winter, right? So again, tracking.
So what do you suppose you do if you're planning for that? How do you plan for that dip, especially like as a single agent?
That's
Because
awesome.
leveraging tells us we're supposed to hire an admin, but maybe we already have a part-time admin that we
Right.
pay per transaction.
Yep.
Like, what's our next thought?
Yeah, that's awesome. So we always hire when we have an abundance, right? So in other words, like I had mentioned earlier, if I know my goal, so if my economic model reads that in order to hit, so for me, my number was always 60. So like I could do 60 transactions myself, just me. Transaction coordinate, no assistant, I can do it all. It's a lot, right? So I knew 60 was my limit. So at 60, I knew I needed to hire an admin, right? And so, and everyone's different. Some people are 30, whatever, it's up to you, it's your business. But I knew 60 was my number because I'd gotten there and literally had like a full-on breakdown panic attack behind the wheel of my truck. That was a lot of fun, right? So then I get to that point where I'm like, okay, I know this is my actual, not only like mental, but physical limit. I could probably push myself, but I need some sort of help. So then we start adding small piece by piece. But what I actually do is I say, okay, knowing what I feel, I address that. And then I go to the economic model and I go, okay, if I know I'm trending above my goals, what does that then tell me? Well, I gotta go backwards. What does that then tell me right here in my operating expenses or my cost of sale that I can actually afford? Does that make sense? So these two, particularly operating expenses, informs your budget model, right? So Blake talked about, okay, the operating expenses comes over here. This is how we break it all down by percentage. Well, one of those was salaries, right? So I'm not gonna hire until I'm trending toward the appropriate total GCI, the appropriate budget for operating expenses. That's why we have a 30% model. It's a best practice. That then translates to, I think it's like 14.9% in salaries of that 30%, right? So when that 14.9% is enough to cover an admin, then I know I am good. Okay, I'm trending towards 60 deals. At 60 deals, I know I have enough in my salaries budget to hire the admin. Does that make sense? So that's where the feelings right here, those are just triggers to go, whew, take a breath. Okay, what am I feeling? Oh, this is panic because I have too many deals. Okay, let's go back to the economic models. What does it say I can actually afford? Okay, great. Now let's go to the budget model. What does it say I can afford? Oh, I can actually hire full time. Now we go to the leverage model, right?
Okay.
So, or the organizational model, right? So that's how I would interpret it practically. What you might do is you might say, hey, I'm actually trending above goal, or this is my goal. My goal says I can afford $1,000 a month in salary. That's not enough for a full timer, but it's enough for leverage pieces, right? So use your trend goal for basically your own approval or blessing to go spend the money on the leverage, right? Here's the thing about leverage. It is not leverage if it doesn't bring you more deals.
Right.
That makes sense? So it's either bringing you time, which you must convert to deals, or it's literally bringing you more deals. So buyer's agent, listing agent, ISA, our admin have referral goals. Like I already mentioned Sam, I think she closed 4 last month before that squad came in. So leverage either gives you time for you to make more happen in the workday. Of course, I'm not saying work 12-hour days no matter what, but does that make sense to everyone? So the cyclicality, the pain you feel in the cyclicality, we always measure it against what we're actually doing. And then once we can accurately see that, we then move through the models to inform our next step. So they all kind of breathe together. A lot of times for us though, it starts with the emotion, like the I feel pain, or the I'm the king of the world, I'm listing everything. And then you're like, I'm getting all the listing details wrong, and I'm mixing up the photos, I don't have the lock boxes, and you guys know what I'm talking about, right? So that's how I tend to work the model. So that's how you use all of the models really as decision-making pieces for the business. The cool thing about the models is no other company really gives you these. So like I had mentioned, I do self-storage. There's no model for self-storage. It's just trial and error. I've had 14 employees in the last 6 years for our self-storage business. It's there's no clear model. There's no job descriptions. There's no, hey, when you're doing this, you should do this. It's all right, you bought it. Good luck. Oh, I'm still taking cash at night in a Dropbox. What the heck? Okay. The other side of one of the traps of the economic model is we actually accept the conversion rates we plug in. Okay. So when we were talking about performance being super important in this market, what I'm actually looking at personally, for my personal business, not our whole team, is how effective are the conversations I'm having? And if they're not effective, what do I have to do to make them more effective? So in other words, when I have my lead generation time, I don't want to lead generate and not really get anything. But that just pisses me off. So that's 2 hours I could have spent with my people or my kids. Really my kids, then my people, right? So I get really frustrated when I'm not on a golf course or with my family. I'm lead generating and I'm getting nothing from it. So then I'm going back to that performance. I'm saying, okay, what do I have to do? So you guys might know the old story when Dan Holt was just a young buck. He had a goal to sell 200 or list 200 homes in a year. He had one admin, and he every day would put the number of lock boxes he needed to put on a house on his desk. So as you can imagine, some weeks they would stack up, then other weeks they'd fly off the shelf, right? But it was his way of measuring that, always keeping track of it. It's kind of what we're talking about here. It was a physical, stimuli to the emotional of what was going on in his business. He was able to rework his own steps. So knowing and improving those conversion rates is everything, because like Claire had said, like, if I just improve my conversion rates 10%, that actually translates into a significant amount of, benefit. So a small change in conversion rates means a big change in the amount of leads or the amount of closings you have. That makes sense? Cool. All right. Not holding yourself accountable. So here's one of the fun things about the models is they're pretty black and white. Right? There's flexibility for sure, and everyone's business is different. But once you kind of set your business plan, that's your accountability piece. So if you have a MAPS coach, my MAPS coach requires I send them all the models. And then I have to break down the economic model for each agent on our team. Then he holds me accountable to the performance of each agent inside their own economic model. Oh, that's fun. Love that. Coach is a jerk, but it really works, right? Because now I'm able to say, okay, I've already picked on Cody. So Cody on our team, his living expenses are covered. Here are his lifestyle goals. Hey, Cody, I noticed you haven't done open houses in a few weeks. You're kind of complaining about being light on deals. Your Life by Design says you have lifestyle goals of going to Disneyland and bringing 8 people. What's it going to look like if you don't do Disney this year? Like, are you prepared to tell your wife, Sydney, you're not doing Disney? And he's like, yeah, you're right. That's basically coaching in a nutshell. It's like, hey, you made these commitments. There's things you want in your life. The only reason you're not doing them is because you're not holding yourself accountable to the things required to do them. That's 90% of coaching. Also, someone has to have that permission in your life to have that conversation with you, right? So that's why I love coaches. That's why Shanna is so important to this market center. Also, holding yourself accountable. There's a whole lot of self-discipline that goes into this business, just period. Like, I don't know about you guys, but there are weeks where I'm like, I ain't doing shit. I am gone, right? I'm just tired, not into it. Okay, well, then I go back and I go, okay, is it really fun to tell my daughter we're not going to Disneyland? Which that is really what she wants to do this year. So that's on my Life by Design. Yeah.
Mine are old, 18 and 23.
Oh, that'll actually be more fun though.
Yeah.
So you can drink around Epcot.
Yeah.
Well, 18.
18 will, but the rest of us
At
will.
Germany, they're good. Yeah. All right. Not knowing how much lead gen is required to secure the appointments needed. So that's another fun one. We're like, we get down with this model and it's like, oh, I need this many appointments. Then we fail to go to the lead gen model, right? Claire just taught us how to calculate what our actual contact ratio needs to be to get to the appointments, right? So this is just the next step to break it down further is our lead gen model. Excuse me. Also, if you're not using Claire as a resource or Denver or hell, myself, as crappy as I am compared to those two, go use them. They are so good with numbers and understanding conversations, buyer and seller psychology. And then the last piece that I see a lot of people do is they think that all the tracking has to be done manually. Like everyone at KW already has command. All the tracking can actually be done in command. And you can customize it however you want. If you need to, there's actually a VA program. Nicole will find it for you because she's really good at those things. But there is a VA that you can hire. You just have a one-on-one conversation with them. They will build out your command custom for you however you want. So your opportunities, how your opportunities look, there's all kinds of cool stuff you can do in that. So yeah, those are some of the main traps I see in the economic model. The last piece I see in the economic model, and this one's really fun for me because it makes me so frustrated, is we say we want something up here and it changes. So we're not going to Disneyland anymore. Our kids are brats, right? You have two options. Just like your calendar, you can erase it completely or you can replace it. So I always encourage people like, all right, we're changing our minds. We're not going to Greece, we're going to Mexico, and it's going to be a third of the cost. Like, okay, that is totally fine. Does that mean you go rebuild your business plan? Sure. It's your business. Like, I'm not here to judge you to say like you have to make 127 or 95, whatever. Like, no, like you can do that. What I would say though, is if you're already in the works, specifically if you're using leverage. So leverage is a big phrase to mean systems, people, and tools. These are commitments to literal fixed expenses, both in people, in terms of salaries, healthcare, that kind of thing, or contracts you've signed with Brivity or Commissions Inc. or whatever, Zillow, if you do Zillow, whatever, you know what I'm trying to say. So if you have made those commitments based on a closing goal in your economic model, and something changes in your life, and you say, all right, well, I'm just gonna make less this year, that means you have to go back all the way through the economic model, go back all the way through the budget model, and slash those expenses. Fair? Again, the last piece I'll leave on like stuff I see that people just don't do is when markets move, we tend to move very slowly in response to them, right? And it happens so much more on the personal side. Like, I can't tell you how many conversations in the past 3 weeks I've had with my wife of like, hey, this market's shifting. It's not gonna be as easy as last year, which means I'm gonna be working more over a coming year. Like, I will be taking more listings. I'll have to. I will be handling more buyers. I will be doing more open houses. Like, I will be handling more phone calls late at night because that's what this market's probably going to demand. So are we okay with that? So the factor of the 4 MREA models is really just the one sliver of your life, which is business, right? But then we move in the one thing, Gary talks about the 7 areas of our lives: the physical, the emotional, spiritual, financial. You guys know what I'm saying. Yeah, business is one of them. These models are just the business model, right? Like, yes, absolutely nailed them. But have you guys ever done the wheel of life exercise? So you take all those areas, those 7 things in the one thing. And I'm gonna draw it for you guys. I have time. Is it okay if I do this? Please. This is not in your book. It is in the one thing. Oh, the wheel of life's not in the one thing.
I think it's in the personal perspectives.
Oh, you're right. I did. Yeah, I taught that one time. You're totally right. Okay. I've got a wheel of life flowing down. All right. That's a super awesome marker. You guys in the back, good luck. So we have 7 areas. I'm just gonna put 7 dots on here. See, that's 3, 4, 5. This is really not accurate. Okay, and then we have a middle point. All right, and out of that middle, we'll draw our nice wheel. So we've got an old hub and spoke system here. The middle represents a 0, and the furthest out represents a 10. Does that make sense? So we're gonna go through those 7 areas of our life, and we're gonna label them. So we had already said this one's a like job. This one was, I think I just remembered, a relationship.
Yeah.
Spiritual, yeah.
Financial, physical.
Oh.
And there's another one that has to do with relationship. It's different though.
It's like marriage, fun, friendship.
It's something like that.
Is there
You guys get the idea.
mental or educational?
There's personal. Personal is one.
Yeah.
So I always think, what's the difference between personal and relationship?
Yeah. Whatever, you guys.
There's
get the
one more. I
idea.
can't think of what it is.
Read one thing. Don't quote me. Okay, so now we're gonna go through each of the areas of our lives, right? So business, we just talked about. Oh, that's the last one, I think. You have job and then you have, no,
No.
financial. We'll just call that job/biz.
Yeah.
Because for us, it's the same thing. So the MREA's 4 models is the models behind how to get from a 0 to a 10.
Social,
Yeah, social.
social, career, financial, spiritual, physical, intellectual, and family.
Mental, that's the one we left off.
Intellectual.
Beautiful, thank you, sir. So when we're looking at this, we're gonna go through each of them, we're gonna rate them a 1 out of 10. So you gotta be honest with yourself, like, okay, 10 is like wedded bliss. It's that moment when you have found your true love, right? Or you hit the game-winning shot, or I'm running out of options. Okay, so 10 is that. I just hit the jackpot at the casino. That one always feels good. Never done it. 0 is like, I am a degenerate. Like, I'm the worst, you know? So we're gonna go through and rate these, and let's just pick them. 5, spiritual, or real estate agent, that's gotta be a 3. Money's usually okay. Physical, that's really tough. Mental, pretty good. Personal, average. Job, business, because we just walked through the models, really great. Okay, now I connect my dots. Oh, physical, yeah, I did that one.
Yeah.
Then I connect my dots. Oh, so the idea behind the wheel of life is to show you what your wheel of life actually looks like. If this is truly mine, which is not, I hope it's better than that, I'm not very well-rounded as a wheel, right? I'm a really uncomfortable ride. I kind of ride like the new Ford Broncos when you put a 2-inch lift on them, you know, like Zach Riggs's. I don't know if you ever heard that thing in the parking lot. Kind of is gonna ride like that. The idea behind the MRA's models is specifically this one. So just like we get caught up not addressing those models, we actually get sometimes on the flip side too focused on them. And we allow that to take over our physical life or our spiritual life or our relationships. The divorce rate amongst real estate agents is like sky high. Right? Personal life. So many of us trade, 7 p.m. showings for 7 p.m. hangout with our friends or whatever it is, whatever fills your bucket. So I guess I'll just leave you guys with my section here as don't allow everything that we're doing in business planning to be it. You need a relationship plan. You need a spiritual plan, a financial plan, a physical plan, a mental plan, a personal plan. You should have these regular check-ins with yourself. Otherwise, this right here is going right back to zero. How many of you guys had like a tough personal relationship that took away your productivity? Yeah, like everybody, right? Or how about a physical ailment that took away your productivity? Like this is a rubber ball. It bounces right back. All the rest of them kind of don't, right? Money, I mean, it's really about the only thing is job and money. You can actually get that back, right? A lot of the stuff, it breaks when it falls. So I would just encourage you guys that even though we're mastering these models and we're nailing them, we're actually building the models around the remainder of our lives. Like you can be defined by your work, but your worth isn't in your work. Does that make sense? That was a hard one for me right out of the gate because I went like hard charging. We're going 100 miles an hour. I lost some of this stuff. But now that I'm kind of a little more seasoned in the business, right? 7 years. Oof. Can't believe it's been that long. 7 years in, I'm realizing, man, I really want time back so that I can be involved in my church, so that I can work out, so that I can be with my kids, bring them to school in the mornings, right? One of the coolest things Adam Grady said, in my opinion, the other day at team meeting, is like, every day I bring my kids to school and then I lead generate for 2 hours. I was like, that's so cool. And like, it shouldn't, like, everyone else has kind of heard it and was like, oh, that's awesome. I'm like, I haven't brought my kids to school in years. Like maybe once or twice, right? Why? Because I'm here doing not lead generating. Yeah, interesting. All right, friends, that's all I've got for the economic/life models. We've got a few minutes. What questions or ahas or anything you guys have? I'll do my best to assist with any questions, really. Go ahead.
So if you're an individual and you have EA, would you still do 10% operating expenses and 10% cost of sale, or is it just how you do your own business?
If you have an executive assistant, I would say you're not an individual anymore, right? You have two of you. You're in a sense of partnership.
Just 2 days a week.
I would choose the goal based on how you have it set up. I would just say 30% is probably going to be your max operating expense.
Okay.
Just limit it there. Obviously, the lesser we push our operating expenses in this market, the better it's going to be. Now, in terms of people leverage is different. It's not, I don't consider that a fixed expense. I'm glad to pay for great qualified help that brings me the opportunity to close more deals. That's a win-win-win. So usually we look for a 3 times return on people leverage. So if I spend 30, I make 90 gross, right? Based off their activities or the time that they free up that allows me to go make more. So yeah, in that context, don't get caught up on the 10. Just focus on where you're at and just keep it significantly under 30. What y'all got? I'm an open book. Well, obviously, told you my life story when we started. Thanks, Matt. All right, friends. Bored you to death with the economic model. Thanks for coming. Really well. Thank you.
You guys did get a break.
Yay.
I believe it's 15. But maybe like 10. I'm sure Elise will be strolling on down here soon. Elise Riley.
No, I'll just keep rolling.
Yeah, that's right. Now then you can teach me.
I know.
Organizational.
I'm so
You
stiff.
already did, kind of.
No, I just set her up for failure.
There you go. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
So do you want like dark roast today? Hazelnut? No? Would you like hazelnut?
And I couldn't get it to move.
Hazelnut coffee? Really?
Do you still call it Redco? by the way?
Yeah.
Failed my tax test.
Yeah.
No, I don't know if I
Fun
failed
fact,
it.
his wife and I went to high school together.
That is true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
15 years ago,
In St. Louis.
14
Were you
years
friends
ago.
then, or did you hate each other?
No, we were friends. We sat next to each other in English. I just remember that.
My wife was weird.
She wore a lot
My
of
wife's
black.
weird now.
She did. She
Wherever
wore
she went, she didn't give me, thank goodness.
well, yeah, much
Weird.
a little bit darker than she is now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have liked her much.
No, you would have,
That's part of it.
for sure.
Definitely not.
Not say that now that it's not being recorded. Hello, it's always fun to follow Westwood in the extreme height difference. So that's always fun. It does seem like I'm like, I feel like it's constant, like they're like, hey, partner with Wes. Hey, you'll be right after Wes. And it happened at an awards banquet and it's happening today. So it's like, just making me know how short I am, guys. My name's Elise Riley, for those of you that don't know me. My office is upstairs. I've got a small team. I've got a buyer's agent, Christina, who's actually here today. And we have a director of operations, and that is Bethany. If you ever have any questions in regards to real estate, our door is almost always open.
She's awesome too.
Thank you. You talking about me or you talking about Bethany?
But both of you, both.
I'm like, you said Bethany, both of you. Okay, sure, bud.
I gotta get my door that I can run.
The nice thing about today is that if you do want to talk back, you can sit in the back and I won't be able to tell who's talking because I had to get my eyes dilated today. I've never had them dilated before, so I had no idea what I was in for. And I can't see most of you. Although I can still feel your sass. All right. So the organizational model, this is, I'm assuming everybody in here has either read the MRA, has heard enough about the MRA that you're here for a reason. This is how, this is the building blocks of your business and how to move forward with actually building a successful business. By following the models that we have through the MRA, it really will help propel your business forward. Just a real quick thing about me, I thought that I knew everything because I was previous law enforcement, and how hard is it to sell a house compared to tackling a guy that's twice my size? I don't tackle people very well, I just kick him in the front of the knee. So, taking the easy way out, which is exactly what I did in real estate for the first year. When I went on my own, I just ran like crazy and I didn't follow the models. I didn't even read the MREA. I don't recommend that, obviously, because once I started putting these systems in place, my business exploded and I had some really great things that happened for me. So to get started, I clicked it and it didn't work.
Move your mouse and take it.
Flip them out.
Click the mouse.
Click, not that mouse.
And up. Which one? This one?
You got it.
On the computer?
You just had to move that.
Rude. I got this. We're a technology company, people. I know technology. Okay, so this is the MREA 7th level of the model that we have. So obviously you can see that we've got some, this is one of those companies, and a lot of people just think, I'll get into real estate, I'll sell some houses. You can really elevate things and you can actually take things to a whole new level of, do you want to eventually step out of the role of selling real estate? Do you want to have someone who takes over in terms of leverage? And this is where you kind of find those details out. So the three main drivers: leads, people, and the market. This is what you will figure out how you make your appointments. And this is, okay, so let me start over because I'm kind of going all over the place. Because my notes are really good, but they're in yellow. I thought that was a good idea. It just makes it a little harder to see, but I got this. Whew. Okay, so one of the things, and I think this is probably their way of saying, Elise, go ahead and teach the organizational model, even though that's the opposite of who you are. The reason for that is not because I'm super disorganized, it's just that I didn't know how to leverage systems. And a lot of this is about the hiring process and leveraging things out. So once you get to a point in your business where you have so many leads, you're actually missing calls. What if you double book yourself? You can get so busy and overwhelmed that you miss something. And when you get to a point where you're that busy, things are gonna fall through the cracks. you're not perfect in terms of if running a real estate business, most of us are entrepreneurs in here. So by letting things fall through the cracks, that's where you start slipping with your business and your future business, because if you do a good job for your clients, they'll tell 1 to 2 people on average. If you do a bad job, they'll tell 10 people that day or more, or worse, they put it on social media. And so now what are you gonna do? You have to kind of reel back. You have to try and put these systems into place then. So the way by doing that is starting to leverage systems, hiring talent, finding talent, and making sure you understand what the market is. A lot of times, and I've done this, people do tend to hire out of pain. Like when you're like, I'm not looking at anybody because I can't see anybody, but there's someone in this room I've had this exact conversation with where I'm like, that's not gonna work for you. If you hire just to start growing, you're going to feel a lot more pain because it's gonna cost you a lot more money at the end when you realize the person that I spent all of this time, money, effort, training doesn't pan out and they leave for whatever the reason might be. Maybe your leadership wasn't, on the point that you should have been. Sometimes it's okay to wait. There's other ways that you can do it. You can start with an admin. And if you're not quite there, there's nothing wrong with hiring a TC. TC is virtual assistants. But if you start with a TC per transaction, that will help you propel you to use your time wisely. You're going to use your time wisely by focusing on your 20%, which is your dollar producing activities. Dollar producing activities is, I feel like we should all know this. It's 2 words. It's lead generation. Okay. As long as we're all clear on that. Your job as an agent is lead generation, period. When you're looking for people, some of the things that you want to start looking for is who is your potential talent. It took me 2 years to find my buyer's agent. She actually came to me at a client appreciation event. And it was probably because I was giving her bourbon that night for free. But she was like, hey, I'm thinking about getting into real estate. And I'm like, thank God. Because her personality, I've known her for years. She was my dispatcher when I was a police officer. So I already had a connection with her. Really great friends with her husband. And so far it's been phenomenal. But I've been through pain in order to find out that I was hiring too quickly and I wasn't using our systems, such as the KPA. Who here has not taken the KPA? Oh, seriously? That's badass. They get it when they join. I'm like, hold on. Anyone, I can't tell. Did anyone raise their hand? This guy? Did you raise your
I
hand?
don't think I've done it. Is that what you were just talking about?
Like,
Has he done it?
what?
Cameron doesn't think he's done it.
I had no idea. I don't think.
I don't know, I was kind of on.
I'll look and then I'll send it
Like
to
you
you.
would remember.
It's that guy. Yeah. I got you remembered you. So, okay, I'm gonna keep going through this, but some of the things, so potential talent, that's somebody who you know that they have the talent, you know that they have the abilities, you're kind of catching them right at school or talking them into getting into this industry and saying, hey, you should get into real estate. And by finding those people, you can train them from the ground up, teach them how to do your systems, how your culture is on your team and what you want to produce and what your goals are, and make sure that that person fits your vision of what your big goals are. The other thing is emerging talent. This is somebody that's already got a proven track record. They've already been in the industry, but they might be in addition to your business, and you guys can collaborate and see that big vision together. Proven talent, that's someone who's been in the industry for a while. They've got a long track record of success. Those are the kind of people those are hard to hire. Proven talent, people that have been in this industry for years and they already know what they're doing. They've already got a clientele base, past client referrals. You're gonna pay a lot more money for those people. You have emerging talent where they're just getting into the industry. They've got a proven track record, but they haven't been doing it that long. Those are people that can really benefit from your coaching as a lead agent. The potential talent, those sometimes the freshest are the bestest. You just want to get them and you want to train them up as best you can because they can fit into your team and they have the same ideas and goals that you set with them because they also don't know any better. Sometimes, was anybody here for Adam Grady's when he was doing team meeting? One of the things that he said, he just didn't know any better. The reason he is going into this market that's becoming a really terrible market, all these other agents are panicking and getting out of business. And he's like, I didn't know any better. So I just kept pushing forward and just kept doing what I thought I needed to be doing because he didn't know any better. Didn't affect him. So he just put his head down and kept grinding, which is awesome. So the hiring process, some of the things that we that I want to talk about specifically is the career visioning and the leverage series, 30, 60, 90. That's a part of this organizational model. By making sure that you educate yourself, you can then educate the people that you bring on. But until you put yourself in a position to understand the systems and models and all of the educational material like Keller Williams University has, these aren't just things that agents have created. I went to something called Train the Presenter in Austin, Texas several years ago. And I had this really short woman, I don't know, even shorter than me. She was tiny, but she was just a force to be reckoned with. And she explained, she was like, we have these classes and we do this material, not because agents created it. Yes, of course, it's been based from agent experiences. People with huge, high degrees all over the world help create this material and put it together. And they do it to make sure that we at Keller Williams will have success with all of our agents. So career visioning, 30, 60, 90, it's not just there saying, hey, this is how you hire. It's, hey, this is how you hire and if you're ready to hire. You can't just hire out of pain and just snatch the first person that says, hey, I'll do your data input. Hey, I can do your marketing. KPA them. Make sure you're doing all of the things that you need to do to get the person that's going to be proper and correct for your team. Don't take shortcuts, because when you take shortcuts, that's when you start having a lot more sadness in your life. And by sadness, I mean, you're like, oh, that's going to cost me another $5,000 because I screwed up and I spent all this time, effort, and energy. And now this person has access to all of my my database. You don't want to just put anybody on your team. So be careful when you're hiring, make sure they're a good culture fit. So the first level, this is where a lot of you guys are, I'm assuming. First level, this is where you're going to be, it's just you. You're the business, you do the lead generation, you do all the agents, the showings, the presentations, you're also an admin. That sucks. Unless you're decent at doing paperwork, I am not. This is probably the real reason why I'm here, because there's been times where like I've had a lot of deals that have closed, and I haven't been able to get paid because I didn't have the time or the ability to really put together things where I was like, God, I got kicked back for a third time. I'll get to it later. But then I get so busy and they're like, hey, do you want to get paid? I'm like, yes. But Nicole knows, sorry. Sorry for the terror I put you through. So the things that you're doing, you're managing your own money. Hopefully you're paying your taxes. And if you don't, you need to get a CPA. You're showing, you're marketing, you're doing all of those things. And once you get up to a level of per year, 35 to 45 units annually, this is where most of our MAPS coaches have figured out that you should probably go ahead and start leveraging stuff. And that might mean an admin. You know, one of the nice things that's come up is that even here at our market center, you have Onward. And there's other ones outside of this agency. You know, there's all kinds of places and all kinds of people that you can talk to and discuss, but it's definitely worth your time once you start reaching that level that you leverage things out, because your clients need you to focus on your clients. You don't want to be stuck focusing on things like, you know, my contract got kicked back for the second time from compliance, you know, and not worry about those kind of things. Have someone that knows what they're doing and they're probably better at doing those activities than you are anyway. Make sure you're treating this as the business owner. You're not a salesperson, because you need to get your mindset right. By getting your mindset in the right place, and that's a huge mental step. That was a huge mental step for me as well. Envisioning your business as big as it can possibly be, making sure that you understand that if you treat this like a business, then you become more serious and all of your daily activities can follow through. Just like when we went through our certain activities in Bold. Those things are put in place, and those instructions, and they're not just suggestions. They're ways that other agents have become mega agents throughout the country. So keep those things in mind. Is everybody clear on what this is, obviously? Someone's gonna have to yell no. If someone was like shaking your head, I'm like, I got nothing. This is weird. This is the weirdest thing I've ever done. Okay, this is where you get to the point where the admin takes care of the non-dollar productive activities. You need to get back to lead generation. There's only one thing that should be the most important thing on your calendar every single day, and it's lead generation. If you put it in your calendar for lead generation from 9 to 11, and you get there at 9, and you start looking up people that you need to start calling, that is not your lead generation time. you're prepping for your lead generation time, but that's not your lead gen time. So you need to have all of that done, blocked off, and then you need to put it in your calendar. If you don't do it and something somehow gets in the way, take that block in your calendar, move it to where you're free and get it done. Every single day that you are working, make sure you take time off. But every day that you're working, you need to be doing at least 2 hours of lead generation a day. And I don't like calling it lead generation. For the longest time for me, it was like a mental block because it sounded salesy. I didn't like the idea of like, hey, who do you know, former sergeant or corporal of mine that used to be in charge of me? And you tased me that one time in training. That was cool. Do you need to buy or sell a house, dude? Like, no? Cool. Okay, bye. Like, I prefer to call them care calls, checking in with my people. Adam said I just want to be your house guy. It's the same concept for me. Hey, if you need anything, I'm the real estate professional. I have contractors. I have people you can call when you break a window. I have people you can call when your foundation has a leak coming into the basement. Like, call me for those things. Even if you didn't buy a house through me because you bought it 10 years ago and I just started in real estate, I'm still your house guy. So those are the things that's the type of stuff that I consider lead generation too. Because I always get into the conversation of real estate. People want to know, especially now, what's going on in the real estate market. You can just make a simple phone call. Hey, it's been a while since I talked to you. Sorry about that. It's been crazy, obviously, with the last real estate market. Now that things are changing, do you have any different, or are you curious about what's going on in the real estate world? Just a simple question. It's a care call. You're checking in with your people. Always have an excuse to call them. Stalk them on Facebook. See what they're doing. They just got a new puppy. Holy crap, I love puppies. Can I come by and meet your puppy? And then when I get there, I'm probably going to judge your house because you haven't painted it. Whatever it might be. So your dollar producing activities, now those go right back to you because all of the other activities, that's not lead generating, showing houses, those go to the admin. And make sure you always let the admin do it, but set the expectation of what you think it should be. If you're the one that's doing compliance for your contracts, you're not doing dollar producing activities. Okay. This is always fun. The cost of an admin and all future hires. Okay, you must have a positive return on investment. So this is really important for levels 2, 3, and on. You have to know that they are a culture fit. I know I said it earlier. I interviewed, I think 6 people with the KPA process, and I got really close to hiring one. And at the end of the day, I was like, it's just not a fit. She's great for the role. She's going to be an amazing buyer's agent for someone. But I don't want to put her in my office and we just disagree or we don't get along. Even if it's something as simple as you guys don't have the same political beliefs. Don't put someone in your office that you're going to debate with. Make sure you're making the right hire that's going to be a culture fit for you. They might be talent, but are they talent that will be able to stand you and your personality? And will you be able to stand them and their personality? Just because they're a good person doesn't mean that you guys should be sitting in an office all the time together. I say that because I used to have a job like that. But you get to choose now because you're the business owner. So you get to choose who that person is. Sometimes you can discover that in the first 90 days that they are a good fit for a different role in real estate. I've seen that before too. One of the people that I went to hire or that I went to interview was actually a really good, tested really well for ISA, but I didn't need an ISA. So I went to a team and I said, hey, are you looking for an ISA? Here's their KPA. And they hired him. And it worked out for a couple months. He went to a different market center, but he's still in the industry. So that's kind of exciting to see. He just wasn't a fit for what my needs were. So even if you like that person and you want them on your team, make sure it's for the right position and always set clear expectations, especially about payment. Showing assistants, buyer's agents. If you're hiring a lead specialist, an admin, a TC, everything needs to be as clear as the opposite of what my vision is now. That's what it needs to be. It needs to be so clear that there's no question how somebody gets paid, because that's where people's feelings get hurt. But it also is where people start getting upset or not understanding, well, why was this payment for this and now it's different over here? Just make sure everything is clear. Put it on paper. Have the other person sign it. If you're not clear about it or they want to negotiate, that's okay if they want to negotiate what's on paper most of the time. It's okay because that's this job. This job is negotiating. So half the things that we do in this job is about a level of negotiation. So make sure you're always clear about your expectations and things like that. So the third level, when you get to this point in your business, is laying the foundation for growth and succeeding through others. A lot of what we've done before, but at this point in time, like we might have a buyer's agent, an admin, a lead agent, and transaction coordinator. Transaction coordinator, they have one specific job, and that's to make sure everything's compliant. A lot of TCs, they will do, they'll set appointments for you. They'll make sure that, put it on your calendar, hey, today's the last day for your inspection notice and you haven't gotten it done. And those are the people, that's value right there. Someone that will come to you and say, hey, dummy, you didn't turn this in. You didn't hit send, but all of the clients have signed it. So send it. And that will hopefully save you from having to buy a new roof, maybe even buying a new refrigerator. You know, make sure you've got multiple eyes on it. But this is the level where you can make a lot of money at this level. If you just have you, a lead admin, and a transaction coordinator, or I think the next phase is the fourth, where you get, this is where you make a lot of money. This is cool. So part one and part two. You're in charge of your business. It's still your business. You run it every day, and hopefully you've done the KP on everybody else. You've got a showing assistant or a buyer's agent. You've got an OSA or an ISA. This is a lead generation tool. But just because you're in a lead generation tool, you're utilizing this, and someone is specifically doing lead generation on expireds, for sale by owners, or whatever they might be, that doesn't mean that you stop. If you're not lead generating, you're taking a back seat on your own business and not expanding in order to be able to create that next step in your business as you're trying to grow your business. So you have a lead admin, transaction coordinator, showing assistant, or buyer's agent. This is, there's a lot of agents out there that this is where they stop. And there's nothing wrong with that. For me, one of the most important things that I needed at this level, because I'm basically here-ish. I don't have an ISA, but I have a MAPS coach. I'm in mastery coaching, and we'll get to that point. And that may be where I stop. Some people will want to continue to grow and they want to get to that 7th level. Personally, I want my time back with my family. I've got 2 kids that are under the age of 3, which is hard. So I should be able to, hopefully I can see them later today, actually see them and what the shenanigans they're going to do at home today. But this is where I think I regained so much of my time back, because, with Christina's help, I've been able to, I have not missed a single bedtime minus family reunion and mega camp. And I am very intentional about my time when it comes down to my kids. Because I've got this level happening for me right now, that's worth more money than anything to me, because I want to be able to be there. This might be the level where you're just like, okay, finally, I can take this and I can do my 20% that will get me from this level to this level to this level to finally this level. And eventually this might be someplace that we go as a team. But this is where you can start building in these building blocks, because the OSA, if done right, the position will have probably the highest return on investment. This is an entry-level position for both lead generation and sales division. So Claire Buckler. If you don't know who Claire Buckler is, you need to meet her.
She taught today.
Okay, never mind. Oh yeah, that's right. She was on the flyer. Back when I could see. She is incredible, isn't she? You guys get a lot of a solid amount of information. Hopefully everybody took notes.
Yeah.
And that is, you want to talk about somebody who on the phones is a master at getting the yes, or finding the no quickly to move on and find the yes, because that's a concept. Go for no. She's someone that is just phenomenal on the phone. She's great. If you guys ever want to do script practicing, I think she's got some scripts that you could probably get from her. She just got back from Boston because she was on the masterminds, fall masterminds for MAPS coaching clients. So anyway, she's just a wealth of information. At this point, you've leveraged a lot of things out when you reach this level. You hand off a lot of things. This is where it becomes super important to make sure you're setting your expectations appropriately and properly. If you hand something off, so if you've got an ISA, they've made the phone call, they've made the initial contact. Now they're coming to you as the lead specialist or whatever. And if you hand that over to somebody else, who have they met? So make sure that your language is consistent. You guys all script practice, which we're going to start doing again, because I got away from script practicing, but I realize how important it is now. The language of real estate in your team needs to be consistent. Everybody needs to be saying the exact same thing. If you guys don't, and you contradict each other, you lose trust from your clients. And that's one of the ways to have 10 people find out you're not a great agent that day. So make sure you're not doing things like that. Let's see, part 2. So this is where it says, and this is in the MREA a couple times, this level right here is where you can easily net $1 million in your GCI. Is it GCI? No, sorry, that's net. So the notes here, we get a whole bunch of notes that I'm mostly able to read. This is where it says, so you have a lead admin, they've hired a listing manager, and they prepare. So now your admin isn't doing the listing stuff. You have someone specific that does all of the listing things, just them. So that's been leveraged out. So they have more free time to do more of the activities that now you need them to do. Showing assistance to help promote the buyer's agent. So now your buyer's agent is able to take on more and more work because they have a showing assistant. Your lead manager who hires a team of ISAs. So now you don't have one ISA, you have multiple. So you have multiple lead generation machines constantly being in production to make sure that your business is functioning properly and at a high level. Okay, and then we're gonna move on to. So, is any, yeah.
Can we back up one spot? Because obviously this is just taking different responsibilities and splitting them up to more people so that they can focus on special things. Can you talk a little bit about the, right here is where we split up the lead admin and add a transaction coordinator. What are the responsibilities in those two spots under part one? Under part one.
Part one.
It could be, yeah.
Here to here?
Yeah.
Okay, lead admin, all of the other admin activities. So when I want to do client appreciation parties, I've got a booth coming up. So she's collecting all the material for that, ordering everything online, making sure that I have business cards, making sure that I have inventory, and doing all of my database cleanup, making sure that I have a list of people to call at the beginning of the week. That's what she does.
Okay.
This person does everything else when it comes down to the contracts.
So
I
the
get
lead
under
admin
contract,
is
I
talking to
submit
you and the transaction coordinator is dealing with contracts and making sure client and calendar is good.
Yes,
Okay.
and I still have oversight on all of this.
Right.
Are
So,
you still doing listings or one of
Oh,
those
yeah.
doing listings?
say again.
Are you still doing listings or is one of those doing listings, like putting them
No.
in? I guess that's.
So, yeah, no, she does, at this point in time, for me, she does my listings.
Okay.
So she's still putting in my listings, she's
Input.
doing all of the
Yeah,
contract.
input, that's what I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
the input, all of that. That you can use some transaction coordinators, and actually, I think most transaction coordinators will do that as a part of their TC stuff. I just prefer, I have a little bit more control issues than that, and so she does everything and then I finish it out.
Mhm.
So that's
You
just,
hire out your TC, right?
I do. Oh, yeah, no, my TC, yeah, no, I hire out my TC.
So at the part one of level 4, let's talk about transactions, possible transactions or goals of transactions. What would a team of that size, how many transactions per year would be the goal?
That's gonna vary. That's gonna vary based on market. That's gonna vary based on what their
Let's talk about us.
individual. Well, I'm talking about, so that's also gonna vary based on people's as individuals. For me, this right here is gonna be, for me personally, 60 to 75.
Okay,
Okay, 60 to 75, but once I get to 75, I'm gonna have to move on.
right.
I'm gonna have to go to part 2. That won't be much of a choice. So my goal for next year is my goal is 50 listings next year.
Right.
Listings, period. My listings, not any listings that she brings in. And that's a lot. So I'm gonna then go from here to here to here.
Gotcha.
Very quickly. Is that,
Yeah, that answered. Thanks.
back to 5. I'm kind of going through this a little bit slower than I thought, but also because I didn't realize I wasn't gonna be able to see. Sorry. No, I can see that. That's phenomenal. That is great. Keep that going. Woo, hey. Okay, so this is, right here, when you get to this level, you've got a really major team going on. Does anybody here actually have a goal where this is what you guys were looking at, actually doing? You, cool. Like I could see that hand. Okay, this is the type of stuff that way before you get to this part, honestly, back here, if you don't have a coach, you need one. If you want to get to this level before then and you want to do it here, get a coach. Because I went from here, actually I went from here. this is embarrassing. I went from here to mastery coaching. And that took me from 2 to 3 to almost totally 4, part 1, in the span of 2 years. And that, I mean, that, it made my business explode. And most of the stuff that we talked about was mindset. It's really all it was. Only person that was in my way this whole time was me. Sometimes my kids, maybe. It's just really easy to blame them. It's like, great. Why you
I'm
have
gonna put
kids?
yours into perspective. How many do you have on your team? What do you have on your team now?
I currently have TC and then 4 buyers agents.
What?
A TC and then 4 buyers agents.
Just looking to see where that 4 buyers agents comes into play.
Does this seeing this, of course, I know you've seen it before,
Yeah,
and it just kind of helps you kind of put into perspective, what would your next hire be?
Right.
Yeah.
My admin is going through the KPA right now.
Yes, she is. I sent a KPA today.
Yay!
For an admin.
There's something about, like, once you hire the right admin, your business will just take flight. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. You know, my admin, she was like, she made a post about how she was like, hey, I'm leaving the business and the company I've been with for a long time, probably not gonna work for a little while, just wanna spend time with my family. I'm like, your family is really cool, but let's talk about like spending too much time. They're kind of annoying, right? Like, you don't wanna work, you don't wanna be home all the time. It's just- So, but we have a really great system and she's been instrumental to the success of my business. So that's level, where am I at? Okay. Okay, we're at 5. This is where a lot of this expansion is gonna start going. So you're gonna have divisions basically at this point. Like you're gonna have your lead manager who manages leads. They're not just a lead manager in general, like an admin. They are in charge and managing leads. They are in charge of that aspect. This is its own machine right here. You've got your inbound and outbound director of operations for transaction and now listing manager. And now you have all of the people that are showing. These are all individual portions of that business for that level. The 6th level, something that's a really cool opportunity that Keller Williams has, even though you can't really see it. I think you might in a handout, but your expansion business. You can expand into different market centers. We have people here that are doing it here in our market center. And it's a really cool thing because that's how you can expand your business to make more and more profit throughout the years. 7th level, we have Dan Holt. You know, that's the level that he's at. One of the best things Dan probably ever did for his business was actually step out of the business and let his talent that he found, recruited, and hired take over the business. And now they're at a different level than most people can even dream of. And it's really fantastic. But you have to understand too that, you know, when he started, he's a big thinker. So is Adam. You know, we have a lot of other big thinkers at this market center. Claire, she's on a team and she's the, you know, lead manager and she oversees all of that. But she's the type of person that if need be, she's back on the phones. She's not just overseeing stuff. If she needs to, she's the one that's going right back on the phones too. She leads by that example. So it's really cool to see. But, you know, you'll have turnover through time. You know, you'll have turnover. I've had turnover, a lot of us, if hiring, and if we're new to hiring, that means we're not that great at hiring. But that's why we have our systems here at Keller Williams to help us learn how to hire and not have those pain points that we have to go through when that person doesn't pan out. So if you have someone on your team, like an admin, a TC, and they're an instrumental part of your business, make sure they're in the hiring process with you. Ask them questions because they're going to be in the office with them too. So make sure that everybody is going to be a good fit for each other. And you as the person that's starting all of it, hopefully now reaching the 7th level at some point in time in your careers, you have a very cohesive team. It's not just about a successful KPA. It's about cohesion with everybody that's going to be working together because you want to make sure that if you expand to other areas, you have to send people. You have to know that market center as well. So make sure you're doing what you can to make sure that everybody is in agreement. They're all on the same page with setting the expectations and culture. So the expansion model. What?
You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to.
Thank God.
We do have a couple of expansion agents in our market center, Adam Grady and Dan Holt, of course. They are now working through their expansion models. So
I'm gonna go through one more thing actually though, and because I put this down and okay, hold on, I'm like, I can do this. Sorry, I am not an artist, but you'll do. Okay, this is supposed to be a triangle. It kind of is, so.
Just had it.
So it's a hat. It's our lead generation hat. Now, this is our foundation of our business, and this is creativity. So you want to get creative, especially in the market like we just came from. A lot of people are actually doing this, and they're going to learn very quickly that if you don't set your lead generation up as the foundation of your model of your business, and you try and just do creativity, it's going to wobble. I mean, I know this is like elementary, but if you think about it in a way, this is exactly what happens to agents who are like, I don't need to follow the models. I know what I'm doing. Or if you're like, no, I think I can get past that part. I don't need a TC. I don't need an admin. I just need to go and sell a shit ton of houses.
Shit ton.
That's like what you're doing. Sorry. I'm supposed to be uplifting and not like, hey, crawl out. But that's seriously, like, if you were to do something like this, that's where people, this is where you trip. This is where you have those pain points, because now you're like, how come people are leaving my team? How come, we're not meeting our goals? We're not meeting our standards? Because there's a difference. You can have goals and you can have standards. You need to have your standards set. And once you know that you can reach the standard, set bigger and better goals. But make sure the standard is always hit. So that's the main thing that I think it was Dan that actually was like, what are you doing? And he actually wrote those two triangles out and showed me, and I was like, I suck. Not doing that. I'm like, no, not doing that. Okay, still not doing that. Okay, this is the business plan, yay. Okay, so it's saying that where am I on the path to people leverage? I think a lot of us know, and I don't necessarily think that we should I don't necessarily want to go over this right now. My thing is you need to know where you're going and you need to have a direction. I hope that this all-day class has really helped you find the direction of where you want to go, or at least the level that you want to attain. But I do think that this next, what are my areas of mastery? I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a minute to go ahead and do this. These are 9 questions. It starts with lead generation, capture, and conversion. Go ahead and fill it out, because I think that's a good measure for you guys to go ahead and see where do you actually think you're at.
And I'm just gonna do a little plug. So majority of you are in coaching. And what do you guys get for being in coaching for free?
TC.
Correct. So you already have a TC. Yeah. What? Onward. Elisa's mad. She's joining coaching now. I don't have this shit. She already has a coach. She's gonna get a second coach. Yeah.
Like, I didn't have this. It's all about building and expansion. Okay. What are you doing? Oh, people are saying things.
It's just Justin.
Oh, it's just Justin. Hi, Justin. Justin, I love him. Okay, is everybody done? If you're not, I don't know if you are or not, just lie to me.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, yay. All right, do you guys, so did this portion, because this might, again, elementary, but this actually, every time I do something like this, it helps me, because I have to actually reflect and say, and can I rate myself the highest? And if I realize that no, I'm at a 2 or a 3, then I have some internal reflection that I need to do, and I need to make sure that I'm actually showing up every day. So that's one of the things that I've done that's helped me. Also, my coach forces me to do it, so it's nice. She's mean. She's actually phenomenal. I love her, but she makes sure that I show up. Okay, future. I'm not gonna ask you guys to figure this out. Does everybody know what a 411 is? I'm gonna need yeses and nos because I can't.
Yes.
Thank you. Again, blind.
How many of you are going to implement a 411 after this class if you are not already? Raise your hands and say yes.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah. Like, say yes, because I have no idea what you guys are doing. Okay. The hiring process. So here's what, just a quick recap. The three main drivers to help you hire is leads, people, in the market. Make sure you understand and know where are your leads coming from. If you are not analyzing your business with every single person that you make a phone call of that says, hey, I need to buy or sell a house. Did that lead come from an open house, circle prospecting, Sphere, all of those things? That's, past referrals. You need to know where that comes from. You need to always look for talent. You have to have somebody on your radar that you're like, hey, this person, I know it would be phenomenal at a TC, an admin, a showing assistant, a buyer's agent. Keep that person in mind. And just because if they're happy in their current job, have the conversation, start building that relationship with them, and make sure that you're always looking for that talented person. Know the hiring process, do the leverage series. It really will help. It's just a plethora of information. And it really will help stop you in your tracks from making a mistake. That's what that series to me was. It helped me stop the mistakes that I knew I was going to make. Avoid the traps. Don't just hire out of pain. Don't just hire the first person with a pulse that can open a super box. That's not the right choice. Understand your tech and know what steps you're going to take next. If this is something that you guys are serious about and you want to do, know what steps you're going to take next. And keep doing these kind of courses. Keller Williams, especially now that COVID's pretty much, not stopping things, look at, training all over the country. Mark Stewart goes to Bold all the time. In driving distance, he's gone to Arkansas, all over the place. So don't just do training that's here at the Market Center. Go and find training that's outside of this Market Center. Make sure you're going to Mega Camp. Make sure you're going to Family Reunion. That type of stuff that will absolutely change your lives. I went to Mega Camp in, I think, 2016, and it was just one of the best things I ever did. Does anybody have
What do you
any?
say about the costs of those?
Eh?
What do you say about the cost of those? Why is it so important to go?
Oh, because the return on investment's the highest return on investment you'll ever have. There's nothing else those kind of activities in those places that you'll learn so much that it'll explode your business. I know that's kind of cheesy to say, but it's true. Or you can just get a MAPS coach and your ticket entry is covered. So, yeah, time's up. I gotta go.
Thank you, Elise. Sorry I picked on you, but I know your answers, so that's why I asked the questions.
Thank
It's
you.
fine, it's fine. If you weren't leaking on me, I would think you're gonna.
Never.
Also, I'm like,
Thank you, Elise.
I'm gonna go drive now. Thank you.
Oh, great.
10 minutes?
Yes.
Got it. Okay, cool. So I hope you all have had a great day. Of the 4 different parts, I know it's actually more than that, but there are 4 different models. Which seems to hit the most with everybody? I'm just always curious.
Economic for me.
Economic? Who else?
Economic was good for me.
Economic?
Mhm.
It just seemed to tie everything together, like you have to do that first.
Okay, so here's the cool thing. The economic, it's great to work through it on paper, the way they've got it. I've got a spreadsheet that will do it for you.
Nice.
And then it will print out on an 8.5 by 11, so you can print it real pretty and stick it up on your wall somewhere. So if you want that, email me, mikebrown417@kw.com, and I'll send it to you. But you can put in different numbers and you can play with it and say, okay, this, and all you gotta do is put the top number. You put how much you want to sell and what your average sales price is, and it does all the other math. And so at big regional things, they tell me, no, you're supposed to go through it on paper. I'm like, I can't write well. I don't like writing, and I like this pretty thing I can put up on my wall. But if you want that, just email it to me and I'll share it with you. Okay, so from all the stuff you've done today, here's what you need to do. On the back, after this segment starts, and does this go any farther, or is this the last slide?
No, there's one more.
Okay, it has all the tools in the back to get you going. So you've got your 411 action goals sheet. For me, 411, the way I've got to think that is AMW, annual, monthly, weekly. That sticks in my head better because the 411 makes me think backwards. I don't know why. So if that helps, but get your big goal. Well, actually, I'm a big picture person and then I lose details. So I got to see my big goal first and then go down the other way. If you're that way, start with your big year goal and then go down to your month and then break it down. If you see little things, start with your weekly goal and go the other way. Either way works. But the more you put in paper, the more you'll find out you do it. So your 411 worksheet is there. And we can always get extra copies of these things too if you want it. There's actually an online one in Command or Connect.
It's through Connect, so KW Connect. You can look for it and it's your 411 and you can fill it out that way too and print it out.
So it's got your worksheet, I think all this is in the back of your book, and it has this to help you work through the basics of it. And then, like we said, the economic model, you got copies of this here. If you like the digital one, send me the email. But seriously, all you do on the digital one is put these top things in. It'll figure all this side, all this side. It'll tell you how many appointments you need to have per month and per week. So it'll automatically stick it all in there for you. So I'd love to share that. Again, sorry on the throat. How many else, October has like 7 events every day? Does it feel like you're just running from thing to thing to thing? So. Okay, so also the economic model pro forma. It's the same kind of thing, but it's got areas down here on what are my ways, what are my plans to improve? So all this stuff's here to help you get going on everything you've done for today. Now, the other thing I've noticed after I did the business clinic once, it's overwhelming. So don't try and do everything at once, pick one piece. Get into that, get one segment of it going, and then gradually build from there with it. Your business plan, so it's got all the different models here too. The lead generation model, the budget model. We just looked at the economic one and the organizational model. I would focus on one of them right now. Don't try and do all four. I loved how Elisa's walking through how hers, now Elisa's somebody who really stuck into the programs this last year. She's always been a great agent, but she really dug into following like the system she was showing, and it's really changed everything she's done. So pick one of them, focus on that, and as you start going, you'll find where the others fit. And that's really all we have on this last segment is just, I'm the recap guy that comes in and says, great job, everyone. You did it. So if the survey won't work for this, will it?
I'm gonna send out a survey to you
Okay.
guys, if you don't mind. I was working on it today, so I'm gonna
Okay.
send it out to all of you. You should get it either today or tomorrow morning. Sorry.
Typically with every KW class you do at the end, there's a drop-down survey, but it's usually one person teaching the whole day.
Mhm.
And it's people in their system already, so we won't have this on there. But what I've learned also, everybody here that was teaching today, you can call, text, or email. Well, don't call. Most of them don't answer calls. They answer text and emails. They will still help you. It's not just that they came and taught a class. They want to pour into you with whatever you need. And same with any of us upstairs also. We're here to help you grow it to whatever level you are. And what I would say is take October, November, December, keep going crazy here, but set things for 2023. Put it in place so the minute January 1, enjoy the fireworks. And then January 2, get to work on it immediately. Okay? And you'll be unstoppable, especially with the shift that's about to happen. We're ahead of a lot of different places with it. So,
And if you have any of these models that you do work through, like your 411, you're like, I'm lost, I don't understand what I need to put on here, please come and see any of us.
Yeah.
Like we do them weekly with our team, with whoever is holding us accountable. And so we know how to help you kind of figure out, like, you need to put this here, this here, this here. Same with your economic model if you're kind of struggling with that.
I was at another place for 13 years that never had such things as models. It changes things dramatically once you've got these things. So y'all are ahead of the game. Any questions? Yay. You must take some snacks on the way out, right?
Yeah. Go ahead, feel
Everyone
free.
must take 2 cookies. Thank you for attending. I hope you're gonna get into some of the other classes this week or this month, like the Jordan Freed thing. But take advantage of everything you can, especially if you've got a little bit of downtime right now.
Yeah, Friday, Watson Media House is doing a lunch and learn here. They are awesome. They are a vendor with us. Come to that, learn what they do, see how they can benefit you and your business, your listings, your buyers, whatever it is. So they'll be here, I think it's at noon. Please RSVP so they know how much food to order. They're having Chick-fil-A. If that helps you decide what you'd like to have.
I might be here. I might dinner.
I found 2 of them.
Stop recording.
Stop it.
People search.
Bye, Justin.